Okay, I've just downloaded Blender 5.0 just to check out the new array modifier. If you now go to the modifiers and try to add a new array modifier, you'll see that we have two versions. We have the legacy and the new array modifier. And now the new array modifier has a lot of options that the old one didn't have, including using instances instead of using actual geometry. You see, every time you make an object in Blender, for example, if I duplicate this data has to be computed and stored in Blender. That's why if you have a lot of objects in your scene, your viewport tends to slow down. The old legacy array, which you can still add, uses actual geometry, and whenever you duplicate any object, that data is duplicated as well, which if you have many objects duplicated, you end up with a slow scene. The new array uses instances, but you have to turn that on by default. So right now it's off because it's realizing the instances, turning it into geometry. But if I want to use these copies as instances, I just have to turn this off. Now they are instances. And in fact, if you added a new material, you can now use the object info node. The random output is supposed to give each instance a different color or value as long as it's an instance. Now, the moment I turn this into actual geometry, you can see they all get the same color because they are no longer instances. And in fact, if I turn this off and use the legacy array, generate legacy, you can see they are all the same color because we're using actual geometry. The use of instances instead of geometry gives us a lot more control. Instead of using a boring Suzanne head, if I use a tree like this and added the array modifier, I can now use the object info node to do some cool stuff. So, and you can see that we have some extra gizmos here for spacing. So I can grab this and that will increase the count. I can use this to offset the rotation of each instance from its previous one. And I can even scale this. When you scale this down, you see that the scale goes down a bit per each instance or goes up a bit per each instance. Now, if you have so many duplicates, let me first kind of realize so that I can add more geometry. You'll see that this can go on too far, or if you scale it down, you can see that it might even go in negative values. You might not want that because we even have a randomize panel here to do all the randomization if that's what you want. If you do it with the gizmo, you'll end up with this, and to correct it, just go under the settings here. Make sure that all the scale values are set back to 1, and that way they're all scaled. If you have some random rotation in, then you can also remove that by just zeroing out those values. Yeah, I was talking about the random info node that you can use now. If I go to the info, because this is setting a color for each instance, I can just colorize this to make this colorful, and maybe we have a variation in the colors of each tree. So, and I can now overlay this material using mix color. This should be B and this one should be A. And I think I can just use either overlay or the color, connect it to the base, and now you can see I have some nice variation instead of all of them having the same color. Since we already have the random panel, we can start randomizing a lot of other things that we were not able to do in the previous array iteration. So I can change the offset so that the spacing is not the same. Even move some up, but I want them to be mostly X and Y, just like that. And I can also reduce the offset, and I can quickly populate a forest just like that. You can also randomize flipping or mirroring. I think it would be more obvious on the Z. So you can see some are pointing up, some are pointing down, but we don't want that for the trees. Another extra feature that I think you might find really useful is that you can change from instancing online to a circle. We need to remove the randomization and increase the radius. Let's bring back the randomization then, and maybe just reduce the offset. Just add a little bit of offset. So that's the circle. We also have a curve. So with curve, you need a curve object. So I can come in here and draw a curve. Just like that. Go back to my object and select the curve. Now the rotation seems to be a bit off, so we can change the align to be Z, just like that. Now remember, since this is procedure, I can adjust this as I want. You also have a transform which is great for stacking objects. For example, if we say we had a pizza box like this, let me give it some random colors. So we have that. I will just use the array and change this to transform on the Z. If I give this some slight rotation, you can see how we have some variation. And you can also maybe down a bit. Let me turn off realizing. But again, the issue is changing the scale. It continuously scales everything down a bit. So I'm just going to keep it to that. And the rotation can be a little bit just like that. And you can again work with the randomization. So you can see how easy stacking stuff becomes. Yeah, anyway, that's the new array modifier for you. If you want to improve your Blender skills, take a look at these courses, including the Master Geometry Nodes course, which is a course that takes you through making different procedural assets in Geometry Nodes and also touches on motion graphics, and also the advanced Blender effects, which just goes into making advanced effects. That also has a section on creating science videos that are popular in the medical and science field.